BBC News, Istanbul.
Well, I'm joined now by Ziya Meral, who's an expert on Turkish politics and a research associate at the Foreign Policy Centre here. So what do you think is behind this recent upsurge in Kurdish violence against Turkey?
There are two major reasons as far as we can see. First of all is the failure of the AKP initiatives for further democratization in the country, which has resulted in arrests of various Kurdish politicians and the gradual blockade of the Turkish parliament by Kurdish politicians. But the second reason, which is not debated much, is PKK's own fight for survival. It is losing ground across Kurds and across Middle East, and the global conjuncture is no more accepting an armed resistance or terror attacks on civilians or even military operations.
What's interesting about this is that Turkey is often seen as a role model for the rest of the Middle East. It's a secular democracy, the economy is doing well, it's positioned itself as a peacemaker, and yet it doesn't seem to be able to tackle this problem on its own home ground.
It is quite a long problem. It's been there for 80 years. The question of what Turkey is and who is a Turk and what is citizenship in Turkey is in continual debate. The current government has undertaken significant steps towards the solution of it, but both the dynamics within the country and within the region really slow down the process. And you are right to point out that if Turkey is able to solve this problem, it will improve its domestic strengths economically, culturally, but also it will increase its appeal as a true peace-promoting and strong democratic nation.
Do you think it should be doing more to engage Kurdish political parties?
I think the problem is not necessarily engaging with the Kurdish political parties. The failure that we see in Turkey is not just about the Turkish government or the public. We see the same failure among Kurdish politicians and Kurdish activists. We are in need of a new politics. We are in need of a new language, new activism, new solutions. And sadly, what we have seen in the attacks last night and over the weekend and the responses by the Turkish government and the Kurdish activists and the Kurdish politicians is going back to what we have always known, what we have always debated. It's sadly a bit like watching a movie we have already seen the end of.
And yet, as you say, the AK Party, when it came to power, made big efforts to engage with the Kurds. Have they slipped back? I mean, the European Union has criticised the Turkish government for not doing enough, for instance, to introduce Kurdish language into schools. They still can't have Kurdish language lessons in schools.
Well, we just allow, the Turkish government has just allowed the opening of a Kurdish faculty at a Turkish university. Kurdish now can be taught in private institutions. There's Kurdish media, Kurdish music. So things have moved on quite a long way in the last 10 years. Even the European Union itself has come out today and as President Obama condemned the attacks on Turkish military outposts and security personnel. Where we are is no more just a simple looking back at the failures of the Turkish government in democratization process, but also looking at the dynamics within PKK insurgency itself. We do see a growing number of Kurds saying enough, do not fight on our name. We see a growing number of Turks are saying enough, the military operations is not going to solve anything, but at the same time we're stuck in old ways of thinking.
Ziya Meral, thank you very much.